Alright guys, so our second video is going to be on multiple choices, and we're going to be creating these forms, and then after we've created our form, we're going to assign it, and then we're going to look at the data that you can sort of collect after you have added a point value. So we're going to do this pretty quick. We're going to go right into our drive, and from here I'm going to create a folder. I know that's kind of weird to show you guys that I'm creating a folder to place this in, but it's just a good habit. So push new and folder, and I'll assign this folder. Video 2 multiple choice, and here we go. We're going to go ahead and create a form, and a blank form at that. Now, the first thing we want to do is title the form. It's really important that we place a title at the top. If you don't do this, again, you will have a bunch of forms that say untitled form, and then it's hard to find. Maybe that's a mistake that I make. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to actually place a little indication that there's going to be a video instruction, or YouTube here. We'll do that in the next tutorial. So I'm just going to write that in. All right, so our first question is going to be which actor voiced Darth Vader and the Lion King's Mustafa. And I have these already in a doc, so I'm going to just copy and paste. And my Morgan Freeman, my last one's going to be Michael Clark Duncan. Who thinks they know it? Most people should know this. So just to kind of give you guys a little added bonus, we're going to add in a visual. So use the little icon on the right, push where you want to get the image from, a Google Drive. You want to upload it from your desktop. I am using my desktop for this. You can see you can use you can even use your camera. It just depends on, Google Images will have images for you if you want to use images off that. It just depends on where you keep them. So I can also add another question below, but I'm not going to go into the next question. What I'm going to do is show you how to add a point value to this. So we go into our settings, get a little gearbox, and we push on quizzes, and we're going to toggle this to make it a quiz. Now, I'm going to go over all these little icons below. These are auto-filled, sort of like a default. I like to uncheck mark the correct answers. I don't want them to see the correct answers after they've taken it. I have a key that tells them the answer that I like to sort of write in, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, we want to limit things to one response, and we don't want to let them edit this after they've submitted it. I want them to take it once. So for the presentation, you can see they can shuffle around the questions, and this is really great if you're on site, but if you're online, it doesn't really matter. And I do like to show a progress bar. I want students to see where they're going and how well they're doing. So now that I have assigned sort of a question here, I'm going to go ahead and add a point value to this. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the answer key, select this, and I'm going to add a point value. So I'll make this worth 1 point. And let's say that I think that the answer could be Michael Clark Duncan. I want to push into that green circle. Now, I can also add in an answer feedback. So, like, I would say this to you: I can't believe that you think that this is actually Michael. This is not Darth Vader voice. Your answer should be James Earl Jones. Make sure that your green dot is in the circle, and push done, and that'll assign the point value for the question. Now, the last thing I'm going to go over with you guys is sort of how to render this different color and maybe change the font, just more stylized. I like to do sort of a theme or a color theme with each of my units, and that helps me with the organization. You can make it white or gray or however you want to do it. You can use this font down here, and I'll use Playful. Kind of has a little bit, whatever. So, okay, so here's some purple, and we'll just make it, we'll make it purple again. So, okay, now that I've made it purple, you can also add an image to the header. That's kind of useful. I tend to use this for announcements, and I can show you how to do that. If you go to Upload here, and I go to Browse, I can go ahead and push this as a due date, and I tend to do this from time to time. What's also interesting is if you use it this way, it'll actually adopt the color palette of the header, which is kind of cool. So if you don't really want to worry about stylizing it, your header will do it for you. Now we have, I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple extra questions, you guys. Please answer the questions, and the next part of this will be on how to look at the back end of it. So here we are, guys. All of you have taken our multiple choice question on our staff survey. So we're going to take a look at the back end of this, guys. We're going to go ahead and open up another page here, go into Classroom, and I'm going to take a look at our classwork. So all of you some of you have completed this multi-choice, and we're going to take a look. So I've got 8 out of 27. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add a point value. I'm going to import the grades, and I'm going to take a look at Patty's question down here. and we're going to talk a little bit about why the grades aren't maybe what they're supposed to be. You can see when this autofills in here on my left, see how low the point value is. Now, why is everybody getting such a low grade on this? And I'm going to go ahead and tell you a few reasons why we have problems. So like Patty says, why am I only getting a 2 out of 6? I should have got a 4 out of 6. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at why that might have happened, and maybe Patty deserves a slightly higher grade. So the first thing I can do is take her word for it, and I can manually give her a higher grade. I don't want to do that. I'm going to go ahead and view her submission first. Look at her individual work. And you can see I can see her comment down here, her question. And then below up here I can see her history. And I can see that this is assigned on the 18th. She got the draft up on the 24th, submitted it on the 24th, turned it in. And then she tried to do it again. But you can only turn it in once. So I know that when she completed it, and I know that she did complete it. So if a student ever has a problem with that, that's how you look at the history of their submissions. I'm going to go ahead and return here. So I want to see the data from this, this multiple choice. I want to see what all the students are doing. So I cannot do this from Google Classroom. I have to do this from Google Drive if I want to see data collected from the multiple choice. So I go to Drive here, and I need to actually find my document or my file, my form, excuse me. So I'm going to go down here. I've got a little folder. This is where I keep all my folders. You guys have seen me make my folders. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up this form. And here we go. When it comes up, you can see under responses, it'll show you all the people who have participated in this form. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up this. This is going to give me my data. So what year was Casa Roble founded? 9 of you all said 1966, but Google says 1960, so all of you got that wrong. So Patty missed that one. Who's the oldest Kardashian sister? All of you got this right, but I did not assign a point value, so I'm going to show you how to go back and do that. And then what is Kramer's first name on Seinfeld? All of you wrote Cosmo, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, assigning short answers to your multiple choices. What might be the issue? So first is that. Why is it a problem to assign a short answer? Well, you need to, it doesn't give them points. It doesn't autofill points. So you can see the most common answer, which are all correct, but you need to manually give them that point. So for this reason, I do not like to include short answers into my multiple choices. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. So the actor's voice for Darth Vader and Lion King, everybody got that. Everybody got, well, half of you did not get this right. The correct answer was settings. Okay, the only place you can create an assignment is this. Now, this is a confusing question, and I've seen that I'm not really getting a high rate of success on that one. So I need to go ahead and change that question. So that's going to be the first thing that Patty might get, is that point back. So first I can change the answer by going into question in this response area, or I can go right into the document and go right into questions, and this will allow me to actually edit my question, so it makes more sense. So the only place is that I can assign a task. So now that we've gone over short answers and I've given that a point value and explained that you need to put that in manually, let's go down to this point value of the Kardashian question. Yep, I need to add some point value to this. And you will also need to update anyone's grade manually when you are correcting a key like this. So all the students who haven't taken this quiz yet, they will all see the updated version. You will need to manually correct the grade of anybody else. So I've sharpened up that question at the top. I've added a point value to my Kardashian question, and I've explained short answers. Now I need to go and take a look at responses again. I want to make sure that Patty does have 4 out of 6. So let me go into individual and let's scroll to her email. Let's take a look at her work. I'm just going to scroll down here. Yep, she got this first one right, and I've updated that question as well. Got the second settings wrong, got the voice right, got Kramer right, and Courtney I've updated the point value for that, and then everybody seems to think it's 1966. Maybe it is, I don't know, I'm just looking at the internet, so that's going to be the right answer, maybe wrong answer. So I want to make sure that she does have 4 out of 6, and you will find that you will need to actually go back into classwork, and I'm going to have to go to grades, and this is in your classroom. And I'm going to have to manually update her grade. So you will need to manually update this. But again, if you have a short answer on your quiz, you will need to manually update all of them. And we're going to go over that in just a second. So it's going to auto-save once you've placed that in. So I have two tips. One's on short answers and the other is going to be on updating grades. So the first is going to be the short answer questions. I do not like to include short answers in my multiple choice documents or my multiple choice forms because the grades that the students see is not the accurate grade. So for those reasons, and having to manually go back and update those grades, I keep these separate. I like to have short answer tasks and I like to have multiple choice quizzes, and I like to keep them separate. But it's up to you. It depends on how you operate your classroom. So the second tip is on updating your questions. If you update your key or if you update the questions and you have to, maybe you've forgotten to give a question point value, you will need to go and manually update grades for students who have already taken the quiz. So if the student's already taken the quiz, you need to go back and manually update their grade. They will not auto update. Now, any student who hasn't taken the quiz yet, hey, they will see the updated version. So these are the two big hiccups that I have found along creating these multiple choice documents. I hope this helps, guys, and I hope this helps you sort of create your own multiple choices. I will see you next week for a new tutorial on YouTube's.